Moving on to Chapter 15, the Persuasive Speech. This chapter starts on page 402 if you want to follow along in your book. What is the creative process for persuasive speaking? Part 1, starting. How do you choose a focused persuasive topic? See page 406. Researching. How do you conduct research? Page 418. This is the same flow chart that we've had for every speech, by the way. Creating. How do you construct a persuasive outline? Page 420. How do you organize the body of a persuasive speech? Page 422. What should you include in the intro and conclusion? Page 426. Step 4, presenting. What should you consider when preparing to present your speech? Page 436. And finally, step 5, listening and evaluating. How should you evaluate a persuasive speech? See page 438. How do you choose a focused persuasive topic? Number 1, get to know the audience and situation. You know who your audience is, and you know the situation. You know that you're going to be in a debate. You know your topics. Congratulations, we kind of already covered that. Create a persuasive idea bank. Okay, you really didn't have to do that because I gave you topics to choose from and told you whether to pick pro or con, or in the case of obesity, lifestyle, disease, or epidemic. So we're good. Select and narrow your persuasive topic. Get that. Determine the best type of persuasive speech. You're doing a debate fashion, but we will cover that a little bit more in a moment. Identify your specific purpose. You do that in your outline. Identify your central idea. And finally, create a working outline. So get to know the audience and the situation. I'm not going to go over that because we already know how to do that. And you already know that information already. So, creating a persuasive idea bank. Again, I gave you your topics. Tells you how to build an idea bank. Select and narrow your persuasive topic. Again, this is already done. Determine the best type of persuasive speech. Alright, there are 3 types. To convince, to stimulate, or to actuate. To convince. Let's go to page 413. Social judgment theory states that your persuasion will be easier, tolerated more, and potentially longer lasting if your audience can tie in what you are persuading about to what they find most acceptable, or what are called attitudinal anchors. Attitudinal. And then the social judgment theory, it kind of actually looks like an anchor, and that's at the bottom of page 413. And if you have questions about the 3 different types of persuasive speeches, feel free to ask. But we already covered this when we covered other types of speeches, so I'm just not going to do it. Identify your specific purpose. You already know what it is, but just to remind you, your specific purpose has 3 parts. The first part is your general purpose. So, to persuade, hint, hint, that's what I'm looking for on this outline. Your audience, my speech class, and then finally your objective. So their objective here is that the military should eliminate the don't ask, don't tell policy. Identifying your central idea. Again, we've done this for every speech. I'm not going to go over this again, especially because your last video was almost 45 minutes long. Creating a working outline. Okay, I give you the outline format that I want, so I'm not even going to cover this because I don't think it's relevant. How do you conduct research? Make sure that your information is accurate, current, complete, trustworthy, and suitable. Okay, so making sure that it's relevant. And then when conducting research for a persuasive speech, you want facts, definitions, testimony, whether they're personal, lay, or expert, examples, such as brief, extended, and hypothetical. That was 4 as examples. And you also want statistics, whether they're descriptive or inferential. I'm not going to give you any more information about how to conduct research because by now you should really have this down. How do you construct the persuasive outline? Again, not relevant because I'm giving you what I want for the outline, like the format. How do you organize the body of a persuasive speech? You need to recognize your organizational strategy, commit to a strategy, construct main points, organize support materials into arguments. So recognize your organizational strategy that you might want to use. It gives you the 5 that are best for persuasive: causal, order of intensity, comparative, problem solution, and Monroe's motivated sequence. Pick a strategy and stick to it. I've said that for every speech you've done so far. Don't let me down now. They're all doing great. Semester's almost over. Thanksgiving's almost here. And then Christmas. And then my birthday. So exciting. Moving on to page 424, constructing main points. You have this down by now. Just make sure that they're complete sentences. That's where you're all losing points. You're not giving me complete sentences. Organizing support materials into arguments. Alright, so your arguments will become the subpoints supporting your main points. So it is time to decide which appeals you want to use and the type of arguments that best fit your speech and how to arrange your arguments. So there's the primacy model, which suggests that you should put your strongest arguments first in the body of the speech. There's also the recency model, and here you begin with the weakest argument and end with the strongest. Moving on. Page 426, what should you include in the introduction and conclusion? I tell you what to include in your outline sample. So moving on. Then we discuss the preparation outline for persuasive speech. Again, for this speech, no outlines up at the podium with you because there's too much reading from your outlines. I prefer that you bring note cards up or like handmade note cards. And don't write your entire speech out. I noticed that a few of you did that. But try to instead memorize your speech. And remember that for this persuasive speech, that you're also competing against each other to have the best score. So the person who goes to the actual speech competition is going to get 20 points extra credit, and then 10 points extra credit for those who aren't competing in it. Another note in a moment. But for those of you who just go to watch, 10 points extra credit for you. Also, the speech competition has been moved to December 6th. So that is a Friday. And I think it's still at 4 o'clock, but I will give you more information on that as we get closer. I hope that those of you who are chosen can still participate. But I also understand if you can't. But moving on, we are now on page 436 on what should you consider when preparing to present your speech. You need to consider your language. You need to make sure that the language you use is accurate, making sure that it's correct, familiar, and concrete. Also making sure that it's appropriate for your audience and suitable for the topic that you're presenting on and the situation. Also, being verbal, using conversational language, using proper sentence structure, and thinking about your delivery aspects of your speech. For some of you, this is projecting more. Yes, most of you have been doing very well, projecting your voices and whatnot. But you still need, some of you are quiet and can project a little louder. And additionally, on top of that, tone. Tone has been a big thing, especially with the gentleman. Being monotone. I understand that it's hard to stand in front of a group of people and be excited about a topic, but that you don't know a lot about, especially in front of a group of strangers. But I hope that by now you kind of know each other well enough that you can present well to each other. Distinctive Making sure that you're using vivid language and unique speech devices. This is covered in Chapter 8, located back in Tab 4, and this covers language usage. So think about the types of words that you're using that are going to appeal to the emotions into your audience's senses. Delivery. This has to do with practicing your speech. Okay? Most speeches are delivered extemporaneously, and you will need a delivery outline containing just enough to get you through. But for me, that's going to be your note cards now because outlines are now banned. Too much reading from the outline. Moving on. Presentation aids. Not required for the presentation or the persuasive speech because I don't know what kind of, if any, visual aid displays we're going to have in Zolar for the speech competition. So I'm not going to require them. They are optional. But again, make sure that they're high quality, easy to see, simple, and safe and appropriate. You guys have all done really well with this so far, so I trust that there won't be any issues for the persuasive speech should you choose to use them. Page 438, how should you evaluate a persuasive speech? By listening effectively, evaluating the speech message, and evaluating the presentation. Again, I am posting the score sheets for you, so that should work out well for everybody. So you have an idea of what you're being graded on, and please keep in mind that I am the final say on your grade. If I feel like one of the judges did not score you fairly or how I would have scored you, like if we're not close, then I'm going to override that. But in terms of points for the persuasive speech, the scoring is going to be based on, okay, for your grade, I have final say. In terms of your rank compared to other classmates, with the average scores, I'm not allowed to change that. That is your rank, and that determines whether or not you go to the speech competition and get the extra credit. But that is actually the end of Chapter 15, a lot less information than Chapter 14. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me, email me. You have my number, but I work Wednesday night, and I work during the day for teaching, so any other evening you can call and ask questions, but email is probably best. I think Dave's tired of me making videos and getting like some funny looks, and he's eating cookies and milk, and I have water. So we just had dinner. We had tomato soup and grilled cheese, and instead of using saltines, we used goldfish. Got the idea from Mother Bears down in Bloomington, and it's a pretty cheap and easy meal. Alright, well, I'll see you all in class, and this first video is taking forever to upload because it's 45 minutes long, so hopefully this second video gets up faster.